Well, hey there team, welcome back to the channel and welcome to a little bit of a discussion, bit of a stream of consciousness. I wouldn't quite call it a rant. I'll just chuck up some B-roll probably of me playing the GTA 5 enhanced version. It put me in first person mode, so I stayed in it, and driving with a keyboard's hard, but no excuses, so enjoy me just crashing into walls non-stop. But look, if you're not across it, what I've been building the channel on the past year or so is a format I kind of fell into, which was an expanded overview, and that was doing really well. I feel like the feedback I was getting was that people were just really enjoying it. It was kind of casual, right? I never took myself too seriously, and that was kind of the genesis of it. I like the idea that I do have a platform and I'm, let's say, more enthusiastic, at least when it comes to spending my spare time, sniffing out games and gems and creating, back-end handshake deals and all sorts of stuff, but essentially getting stuff across my desk on a daily and using my platform to just be a bit of a bogan, talk about it for under 10 minutes, have a look at the first few hours to get an idea, and that's it. It's as complicated as it is. It's a sort of stand-in for the times of yesteryear, the water cooler moments, everyone works from home now and blah blah blah, but I still remember, I'm already on a tangent, but bugger, it's my video. I still remember Bioshock 1, them trying to coin the phrase water cooler games, where you would talk around the water cooler in the office about how you took down this big daddy or whatever, but being that I was making you a tiny little, not quite a sound bite, but a short sub 10 minute video that you could watch on your coffee break or whatever, where I talk to you casually like a mate. It's all organic and off the cuff. And I go, here's the cool game of today from Scarlet the Game Nerd. The guy that's got his finger on the pulse of games probably more than you have time for because you actually have a life. Gather around the virtual water cooler with you. I'm going to tell you about this game, show you some B-roll, and then on your way. Now, all of this is in past tense because this year, or rather the tail end of last year, but we kind of concreted it this year, I've been experimenting with this idea of, we could call it ultra long form overviews bordering on reviews. I've been reluctant to call them reviews because games just get so long these days, and to see the credits roll on just about any main release, you're looking at 40 hours now. I did the math on how long to beat. I had a whole pitch around 18 hours being the average amount of time to clock a game, but I'm finding from my own empirical evidence over the few months that I've been doing this new system, that's not the case. So many of these games, while I've given them enough of a go to be able to, just like the old overviews, give you a bit of a sales pitch on it, I'm just not clocking enough of them, and I really would like to. So look, this hasn't been a miserable experience, but it's definitely not the way I want to do things. I liked the old format, and I don't think there's anything wrong with trying new things, but also there's something to be said about bowing out, dare I say, humbling myself, and recognizing that maybe I already caught the lightning in the bottle previously. People liked it, I liked it. I could cover more games, if you want to look at it from a, without getting my head up my own ass too much, but using my platform for as much good as I possibly can. I like the idea of shouting out a different game every day, that it's not just all the AAA releases, all the interesting indie stuff, even shouting out things when they're on sale or maybe out of season and I missed them. And the idea of even using the second channel to, look at these games that we have overviewed and giving them a second sort of boost as well, in the algorithm and for awareness for people that missed it. So I like that. I like the idea of just as a casual, not necessarily low effort, because it's still a lot of work no matter which system I do, but let's say low engagement required on your part, a good way to, bring interesting things to you that may or may not resonate with you and that you most likely would have missed altogether. Even this morning, Nacon did a press conference thing where they showed off all their games and all that, and I watched it and I really enjoyed it. I quite like a lot of what Nacon's doing. I feel like they're kind of ahead of the curve, to be honest, when it comes to adapting to the pushback that the audience versus big gaming industry is going on at the moment, right? And it's a whole melting pot. It's not just ideological, political stuff, it's price points and monetization and the way they're approaching sort of trying to get dollars out of your pockets. I feel like they've pivoted probably the fastest, and they've embraced these little trailer showcases, and a lot of their stuff are pretty cool. Even that bloody ambulance game, which might be the worst you know, in commas, you know, worst games of the year that I've played so far, but I enjoyed it. I really liked it. I think about it often. It's a buggy, broken mix, but it's interesting. It's the spirit of innovative gameplay. And under this newer format where I'm doing these 30 to 40 minute long form videos where I'm kind of teasing apart the moving parts of a video game, like, I don't like it. I don't like that investment for myself and having to justify my scoring and my, you know, every statement. And I honestly can see it being a thing that people aren't necessarily going to tune in for unless they're particularly invested in something like, you know, Monster Hunter or whatever. It's a big ask to get someone to watch some dickhead small YouTuber's video that goes for 30 or 40 minutes. I'd rather just give you these punchy little few minute things showing you something interesting every day. But I'll finish that thought. Things like that ambulance simulator game, these smaller diamonds in the rough, because I still would say I would recommend that to certain people, even though it's a mess. There's not a lot of scope for me to look at that within this current format. Like, maybe tomorrow I'll actually do some sort of special edition where I go through the Nacon video and the games it showed off, because, you know, I was kind of getting a little bit of excitement, a bit of hype behind, you know, there's some Cthulhu-y sort of trailers, that sort of thing. And I recognize that if I'm only doing a couple of games a week and just burning myself out doing 6 hours a day minimum to just play these games for a review that might not even see the credits, there's not a lot of scope for these smaller videos. Anyway, look, this is already, you know, ranting. In a way, I've accustomed myself to even longer form, which I don't want to do. I want to keep the videos short, you know, that 8 to 10 minute thing. So that's me saying, fair warning, a little bit of a sharing my soul peek behind the curtain. It's not a boohoo poor me, but I feel like if I am going to pick up my toys and go home and retreat back to the old format, I should at least explain it a little bit to those invested and curious. And look, this is probably going to be celebrated by most, because you can tell that's what I'm in my element. As much as, yes, I think there probably is a void in that review space for people to come in on the back of what looks like the collapse of the gaming media industry that's just falling to bits. But maybe we just let it fall to bits, right? Do you really want some self-serious dude like myself to step into that void and take the place? Or maybe we just let it crumble and we keep it kind of loose, kind of parasocial, just embrace whatever the format is that I and many other YouTubers do, where it's much more casual and more akin, you know, not I'm trying to fake it or trick you or anything like that, but closer to just some mate that likes games and that's your common interest, and just showing you something interesting and giving you, you know, the Soldier's 5 as I call it, which is, you know, a dot point brief, 5 minutes of just explaining what the game is and showing you some footage, and then you know, and then me kind of just respecting you as another gamer to bloody make up your own mind. Find out if that grabbed you or not. Oh, cheers, thanks Scarlett, you showed me a game I didn't even know it exists. That explosion bit looked cool. Those points that you made about, you know, the main protagonist or whatever. I'm pulling too hard on the hypothetical, but that's all it should be. That's all it needs to be. And honestly, I'm in my element when that's what it is. So yeah, look, feedback welcome, absolutely. But I already feel happier just talking about this. Oh God, I don't mean to Lord of the Rings ending this and add addendum to it, but you may have noticed as a fellow gamer that there is a bit of a shift in the landscape with demos, I guess. From my perspective, you know, a lot of my PR contacts are trying to sell me demos, right? Which is interesting, but I don't know if it's necessarily malicious. I think it's more the shift in the landscape. A lot more games are making demos available to not just press, but, you know, my fellow idiot gamers, you know, all of us in together playing from the same, you know, pool. So maybe we can make a segment for that where it might not necessarily look at the release or the early access release, but perhaps I pile a bunch of demos together into a little bit of a showcase once a week or something like that. And if you find that interesting, you could potentially jump on the demo yourself and check it out. It's just a thought. So there's room for growth, there's room for adaptation and changing with the times as they change around us. But I feel like, yeah, to put a pin in it, going down that review route even though it's well intended, and I'm kind of trying to fill a void in that the review space largely a lot of people lost faith in, I don't necessarily think that's a void that needs to be filled, not by me. Anyway, I can feel myself going into another wave of ranting, so we'll stop there. Feedback welcome. Let me know what your thoughts are around this, if you're relieved, if you're sad, bad luck, sorry, but I'll still hear your grievance. And I guess stand by while I get back into the old rhythm. Anyway, team, might just leave it there for the time being, and I'll catch you guys on the next one.